I'm on mute. Candy, are you recording? Yes. Let's get into it. Hey,
Yes,
Lorenzo, how you
sir. How
doing,
you
brother?
doing? Fantastic. Really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, it's no problem. I want to learn more about it. Um, was who was it? Mike? Was that the who is it you're working with all the fantastic artwork?
Yeah, it's my buddy Jeff Garnett. So he
Jeff.
started Clean Slate Laser in New York, built that up to about 8 locations. He's worked with some of the bigger brands. Definitely a tattoo collector, man. Dude's traveling all around the world.
Now the
I
audio
sent
is
him a
funny.
link. I sent him
All
a
right.
link to join on, but we'll see if he wants to jump on too.
Oh, this right on. I didn't know if he was going to be here. Just it piqued my interest because, of course, somebody who has such fantastic work being in laser, it means kind of one of two things, right? He's in the wrong profession, or he has had a lot of laser work and found the because he's not going to go get one of those pieces taken off him that he wears now.
I don't know, man. That's one of those things where he battles with all the time because he's always looking for a new room. And so as the styles change, artists get better. He finds something that he really wants that might fit that space on his body a little bit better. He's
Really?
always trying to make room. Yeah, I've seen him get stuff, that was probably really hot shit like 10 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
then now the new styles he's seeing is like, man, I mean, let me take this down and let me go and put something else over here. And he'll even go back to other artists that did pieces he removed, knowing they're better now, and get new stuff put on by them. So he is just he's a canvas, man. He's definitely a canvas.
An erasable canvas. He's not a
Yeah, you
canvas
should see
then.
his
What's that?
back.
He's like a well, yeah. You can paint over a
He's an etch a
canvas.
sketch. Let's
There
say
you
he's an etch a
go.
sketch.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like yeah,
follow
the
that.
guy loves being tattooed. He loves being lasered. He loves the art of both. He's into it. We had a funny thing at
You
the
say
show in
the art
Colorado
of
where we met you
both.
guys.
Hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
the art of both.
What is the
So
art of laser?
the art of laser is just really learning about the artists who put it on, so the tools that they use to put it on, and there's a technique to what we do as well. So
Hmm.
we've gotten to points where we've had clients that we are helping improve art, and then there's other ones where we've had people have full blackout sessions, and now what we're doing is we're lasering the design into the blackout. So we're creating negative space on an area that was totally blacked out in, a triple black or something like that.
So truly an art then.
Yeah,
I
man,
mean,
we're,
this is
we're
gonna
trying to.
you're creating something here when you get done using the laser then as well.
Exactly, and it's working with the artist too, so that they don't have to compromise like their placement or their design or saturation level. So yeah, it's definitely there's an art to it. I wouldn't say there's an art like painting or drawing or anything, but there's definitely techniques that you have to learn in order to make the client more comfortable, in order to get the results you're looking for.
Yeah.
So
Do you
it
see
is
that that could go in the future though? That somebody would actually do a blackout session and then somehow lasers would be programmed to do perfect geometry inside of that
yeah, they're
blackout.
actually you can see some people trying it already on YouTube. There's
Okay.
people that are using laser etching machines and they're etching the ink out. We've used stencils before. I have some lasers that have a square beam profile and a round beam profile, so we can use those almost like paintbrushes. I've done checkered. I did a guy's full arm checker piece, like a checkerboard style that he wanted, like a 3D checkerboard style.
That,
So yeah, we're playing with all kinds of fun stuff, man.
that is awesome. It really is.
I mean,
I
it's
mean, I'd never considered that. Like
the
that would
technology is already
be,
there. It just needs to be implemented with this type of laser. That's all that needs to be done.
which pretty much I'm guessing then more takes uh, capital or investment from people interested.
Yeah, there has to be a market for it, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
if there's enough people out there in the world who want to have blackout tattoos done and then have a design that's like extremely precise because you're using high end engraving devices using this certain wavelength. Yeah, I mean, if there's an audience out there, I'm sure someone will find a way to make the machine affordable enough to meet that audience demand.
You
um,
say etching machine, like what I can buy on TikTok comes across my screen all the time. Is that what you're talking? What do you mean?
but you need a certain wavelength of light in order to do this without burning someone's skin. That's the problem.
Okay.
So you have laser etching on metal and wood and all these different technologies that can control the design you're doing. But at the end of the day, they don't have a certain wavelength. They're not using a 1064 YAG laser or a 755 or Alexandrite or all these other devices that we use specifically for different colors and different saturation of tattoo pigments.
That's something that interests me too, because I have had laser done before, but some of it didn't come out. Some parts of it came out more. It was odd in my but then I learned that there are several different laser frequencies, right? And also crystals, am I wrong, that control the actual amount that's taken out?
Yeah, so you're almost there, but we have different wavelengths of light, and so each crystal, when it's stimulated, it can create a pulse and create a wavelength of light that comes out of it. So if you excite all the atoms and everything in there, it's going to generate a beam of light, and that beam of light is going to either be with tattoo removal, we have rubies, we have synthetic titanium, graphite, we have YAG lasers, we have just a number of different devices. I mean, for all aspects of laser aesthetics, for hair removal and everything. So when you create these different wavelengths of light, they attract a certain chromophore, and the ones we would use for black tattoo,
A certain
it's attracted to
chromophore.
color black. Yeah, so like if you have a black tattoo, that's black chromophore that laser is attracted to, red
Okay.
chromophore, green, blue. So yeah, we have a wide variety of wavelengths that are attracted to certain chromophores, and so you're going to get attraction levels there. So let's say, for example, you have a black tattoo, you might have had different levels of removal. Different devices out there are stronger. You have technicians that are using different levels of energy in order to get the desired reaction. So it's not like a one thing where you can go, it's not like a McDonald's where you can just go to one shop, they're all using the same thing, they're all using this, you're gonna get that same burger at every McDonald's. It's not like that. It's you're really gotta decide, what laser is good for you, what technician is experienced enough to utilize that tool, and then your results will be based on that, and then also the client's health as well.
That sounds like a lot of work for the client. Am I wrong?
It's confusing to a certain extent, but I think right now we're at a good place with client education where they can go into a place and they can get a good consultation. If you feel like someone really knows what they're talking about and they're discussing, certain wavelengths they're using on certain parts of your tattoo, the reaction you're going to have, and they have the honest expectations of it. So, there's people like, there's bigger brands out there that are they're all doing the same settings at every location. They're not understanding their client base. They're not understanding different seasons and times of the year. Just like with tattooing, you want to have, healthy skin that you're tattooing. The results are varied on how well that person takes care of it when they go home. How healthy were they or rested when they came in. And then also the artist's ability to decide the design and control their machine and create. So yeah, it can be a little confusing at times for people, but I think with our new project, we're going to do a lot of client education. And I think that's important, especially in our industry. I mean, I've been doing this 24 years, and what we did back then compared to what we're doing now, where back in the day, we're just bleeding out the tattoos. Now we are actually targeting specific. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Well, I was going to say allowing the skin to, because you break it up and then the body itself actually removes the tattoo. Am I wrong?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
your body's going to go through its natural healing cycle, and it's going to target those particles, and it's going to, remove them if let's say you're a pack-a-day smoker and you don't drink any water, never get any exercise or anything like that, your results are going to be really minimal in those first 2 or 3 treatments. You're a yoga instructor, you run a mile a day, and you're at the gym a couple times a week, and you're drinking gallons of water, and you're keeping a good lymphatic system, you're going to have great results. And that's
really
the basis of it. Yeah.
That's interesting. But because they're in better health, they will be removed. The body will be removing it quicker and more easily,
more efficiently. Because if you're a smoker, all the damage it's doing, your body's going to try to maintain that and fix that rather than prioritizing a little burn you got on the leg.
Okay.
I always tell my clients this one thing. I say this like probably once a day. I can have the best laser in the world. I can be doing this for 24 years. I could have the best protocols. I could, do all the things in my power. At the end of the day, it's how well does your body want to metabolize that pigment? How much is your body going to prioritize that? And that's where your results really come from. I have $150,000 machine. That's still, if you're not in good health, your still results are going to be minimal. So you really have to be in a good place for it. Yes, the more expensive machine, the better wavelengths I have, and the technique all have an impact. But at the end of the day, if your body's only able to digest 10% of that ink rather than 25% or 50%, then you're going to see that in the results.
What have you seen of? I've seen lasers on eBay, even, right? I don't know. Sometimes, and now, and they range in such price for what looks to be the exact same machine, or at least the same picture of the same machine. That it seems pretty dubious. What
Yeah, just don't buy your.
have you found? Tell me of these things,
Yeah,
please.
I was gonna say, just don't buy your machines from Indonesia. I just had this conversation with a student of mine last night. 'Cause I have a school where we teach it as well, and I certify people. And he's like, "Man, I want to buy that laser from your friend, but yeah, I found one. It's like $10,000. It's the same equipment you use." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Check it out a little bit. Where's it coming from?" You look at it, and what they're doing is they're just basically selling you a box and then putting one of those small tabletop lasers from China or from eBay inside that box. So you look like you're getting a really professional laser.
Right.
There's a couple people I've seen, saying, "Hey, we offer Picoway," which is the brand I prefer. And you look at the box and it just looks like something that came from Wish.com, man. It's like it's not going to do what it needs to do. These are very high end machines. They have mirrors that were designed by NASA scientists. We have high energy power sources. We have really high end minerals to produce the wavelengths. And yeah, it's you get what you pay for, man. And if someone has a small little eBay laser, you could use that thing. You can blast it out. You can lighten something up, but you're going to scar somebody, and you're never going to get deep enough into the dermis where that artist has put that ink or where the ink is settled. So
scarring.
Yeah.
Big problem, of course, when we're talking about trying to put another tattoo over it. If you just want to get rid of something, maybe you'd be okay with a little bit of a scar. How do you make sure that isn't going to occur? Is it just with your equipment?
Yeah, so that's where the equipment comes into play, man. That's really, really, really important. If you have the equipment, you have the right spot sizes, which we can control the depth and diameter of the beam and how deep we want to go, where we want to concentrate that ink at. If we can do that with the high-end device, we're going to be able to take that ink layer by layer from the bottom up. And by the time we get to the top layer, where that basal cell or germinate layer is, you're going to, avoid any scarring. You're going to avoid any hyperpigmentation. People that are experiencing those results with tattoo removal right now, they're going to people who either weren't properly trained and they're just trying to blast the tattoo out, or they're using equipment that's inferior. And so
some Indonesian brands,
those Indonesian brands, those Chinese brands, those tabletop lasers, anything like that, they're just going to beat up that same layer of skin over and over again. And that's where that scarring comes from. Then as an artist, you can't tattoo over that. Or they're using something called there's like a lactic acid. I won't put them on blast or anything, but there's a few different lactic acid based solutions that people are using or tattooing into the skin, which are hoping the lactic acid will encapsulate those ink molecules and you can peel the tattoo off like a scab. But all that does is cause scarring that can't be tattooed over. So, and I'm sure you've tried to.
I think I've run into that, at least advertisements for what you're talking about, because they would often advertise to tattoo artists to be technicians or to be licensed just for an area. Is that right?
Yeah.
But does that cause more scarring then? My understanding of how to even apply that, I didn't know it was lactic acid because it's proprietary blend. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but that's all lactic acid because it's the only solution that they can claim is organic. Okay. And with that organic product, it's the only thing that's going to encapsulate the ink molecule. So you do have to burn the skin with a little handheld device, or you have to tattoo it into the skin, and then it'll encapsulate those ink molecules and you peel the tattoo off. So, but you have a high rate of infection, scarring, textural changes, hyperpigmentation. It can't be used on certain area of the body. Certain skin types, darker skin types, it's just going to mutilate their skin. So yeah, it's not the cure all, but I think they target like tattoo shops and stuff, and artists, because that's a cheap and efficient way to lighten something up. And they know that tattoo artists, they don't need a tattoo completely removed to do a good cover up. Even us with laser, I only need 2 or 3 treatments usually, and enough time between the treatments, which is huge, important, very important.
But I don't want any scarring in it.
Exactly. And that's why you got to go find somebody with the right equipment. You know, if you don't have the right equipment, you're going to have scarring.
So where are you guys located currently?
So I live in Toronto right now. Jeff is out of New York. We're coming together in Colorado. We're opening up our new shop, Inkless Tattoo Removal. So Jeff has been in the business for a long time. I've been in the business for a long time. We're bringing on my mentor, who's my father. He's going to be part of the group, and he's been in the business for 45 years. My grandmother started the first hair removal school about 82 years or 84 years now ago. So we have a bunch of talent that we're going to start really doing a great job in Colorado, and then probably expand from there.
That's so this is kind of in the family for you.
Been in the family for a long time, and yeah, I grew up in watching my dad do hair removal on all kinds of people. It looks like Jeff just popped in too, and then
Awesome.
tattoo removal came along, and I found my passion with that because obviously I had a 21-year-old kid. I wasn't, looking to do bikini lines
Hair
and underarms and
removals.
buttholes all day. Yeah, no, wasn't my gig. So, so it was kind of tattoo removal came around. It was brutal. I didn't know any better, and I decided to jump in and been doing it ever since. And so yeah, definitely a family business. And Jeff's now part of the family now, so we're bringing him as one of our partners here.
Awesome.
So
Let's
yeah,
say hi to
should be
Jeff. How
kick
you
ass.
doing, brother?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're fine. It's pretty much just for truckers, so we don't need the video. I
Oh, okay.
apologize. That sucks because you got such a beautiful face, but also your work. I'm gonna need some photos of some of those tattoos or links.
Yeah, no problem.
Just so people can see. I was impressed by that. Usually when we're talking about to laser people, there's not a lot of tattoos on them. They're like they show up in a white coat, trying to look the part, and then they slowly try. So we've seen, at least they've been coming to the conventions as laser removal, it was to advertise.
Yeah.
But again, there's usually, you don't see such quality work. Like you yourself have traveled the country, the world, possibly getting some of your art.
Yeah, I've gone as far as the Ukraine to get tattooed, but
Who'd you get tattooed by in the Ukraine?
Dmitry Samoan. I've been out there 3 times. He's incredible.
It would be hard to get tattooed by him now currently then, or what's his situation like?
He
Obviously Ukraine's going through some stuff.
Yeah, he is tattooing still, but he's in Odessa, which is kind of a touristy town right on the Black Sea. And I actually had an appointment with him last January, right before the war started. But Russia was already like lined up at the border. So I canceled, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. But I canceled the appointment, and I do hope to get back out there as soon as possible. But yeah, he's staying put. He's there. He's tattooing a lot of just local people at this point. So I think the tourist clients have cut off a bit.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of the more talented. I mean, was 6-7 years ago, he was definitely the best. Now there's so many people that you could, you can't count them on one hand anymore. Yeah. Back in the day when Dmitry Simone was doing artwork, it healed beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was amazed. I seen one of the pieces in Detroit that he had done on a young lady, went out there and stayed with him for 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. And according to her, it was like one pass, all this solid blues. Man, it was beautiful. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm off now thinking about, I didn't know that he was in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
I didn't know how that war kind of affects my world, some.
Well, he's as far as I know, he's never come to the US. He certainly has a lot of fans here, but I was following him for a very long time, and I wanted to go out there, but at first I just didn't have the balls to go out there. It was just intimidating hearing the Ukraine. So the first time he did a guest spot in Sweden once, and I went out to his place in Malmo, and that was the first place I got tattooed by him. And he just explained to me, he was like, look, this will be a hell of a lot cheaper and easier if you just come to my studio in Odessa. And I told him that originally I was a little intimidated, and he was like, "Oh, I'll pick you up at the airport." It was fine. So he just made it very easy, and was a true gentleman. And picked me up. We went to the studio. He took some measurements, told me to be there at 10 a.m. the next morning. I was there at 10 a.m. Everything was set up. 10:05, he was putting the stencil on. I mean, the guy just works, and really had an amazing experience. And since then, I've been back 2 more times. So he's done my whole right arm. And in fact, I did laser a bunch of stuff off that was there previously, which is how I got into laser. I was a tattoo collector first. And like a lot of us, I got a lot of just, cheap, dumb shit when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. And then I got a little older, and the work started getting a little better. And I was like, all right, I got to make some room for this stuff. And I went and got lasered myself as a consumer first around 2008, 2009, and just had a pretty miserable experience at first. And at that point, I just got obsessed with it. It was like, I got to learn this. I got to figure out a better way to do this. And I opened my first laser clinic in 2012. And that's.
Do you mind explaining the miserable experience at all? Hello?
Might have lost him there for a second.
Yeah, I'm curious. When I mean, that's what we're all scared of, is a bad experience, and to see that it was such an impetus to his
well, back then the
change.
There he is.
Yep, we got
Start
you.
over.
Go on. Oh, maybe we do.
I could hear you the whole time.
Okay.
But yeah, it's back then. Not only was the technology not as good, but also just a lot of the protocols, people didn't know the right way to do it. And also the tattoo that I had back then had blue ink in it, which was pretty impossible to remove until the newer Pico lasers came out. So they basically just tried to blast holes in my skin, and I have some vivid memories of that. I remember driving home from Manhattan and picking chunks of skin out of my hair that had exploded off of my shoulder blade. It was gross. And they broke,
like what, a great big huge blister broke out, and then it popped while you were driving?
It wasn't even blisters. It was literally, they were hitting it with so much energy that the ink particles were exploding, and it was shooting flakes of skin off of my back into my hair. And it was
That's what some techs will do back in the day too. Just like if they can't get it to move, they just pull the laser back and they just demolish the epidermis. And that's what you could feel it, like back in the day, you can feel it like popping off your like safety glasses and stuff.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It was disgusting. But
definitely different than what we do now.
Yeah.
And the Pico laser is what we have to thank for the change.
Pico laser, and people learning the right way to do it, and that you don't have to beat the hell out of the skin. The Pico lasers use a lot less heat than the older lasers, and we do it the way we do it now. We never break the skin at this point. And even sometimes when people, like in my case, where I'm not even looking for complete removal, I'm looking to lighten something for a cover up, but I want better cover up options. It's so important not to create micro scarring, because you'll go through all that and you don't want to change the texture of the skin. Because then even though the ink is gone, your skin's not going to take the new ink as well. So taking your time with it, going to someone who knows what they're doing, someone who has something like a Pico Way laser, or at least not some piece of shit old 20-year-old laser, is going to make a big difference in the
proper training
and the quality of your skin. Yeah, absolutely. Proper training, I'd say, is the most important part, because I've seen people that even have good lasers, doctors in some cases that have good lasers, but they just don't do enough of it to know the right way, and they just end up butchering people.
So yourself, did you end up with scarring from your set? I mean, it sounds horrific. Seems like you would have had to have some scarring.
I did have scarring from that one episode on my shoulder blade. I tried to cover it up, and we pretty much tried to black out that area. We went over it 3 different times with ample healing time in between, and you were still able to see the outline of the original tattoo in white because it literally wouldn't hold the ink because of the scar tissue. So it wasn't a huge area, but it was a really good learning experience for me, and one of the reasons why I was dedicated to learning the right way. And that is partially how I crossed paths with Lorenzo. Lorenzo has taught some of the best laser technicians in this country, even internationally, how to do things the right way. And he's had a major impact on the overall tattoo removal industry. He's kind of behind the scenes, just kind of teaching everyone the right way to do it. So when I owned Clean Slate Laser in New York, even if I hired people that were already certified and had some background, I would always still send them through Lorenzo's class because he's just he's a wealth of knowledge.
Right on. Tell me then with this
Sure.
wealth of knowledge, please. When because this is maybe, I bet you know about it though, as much as I don't know so much. I talked with a ink manufacturer recently, a friend of mine. I'd like to get him on the podcast, but he's actually kind of shy. And so hopefully if I drop him or at least say things like maybe that'll get him on. But I've been hearing that blue ink, especially blue and green inks, have this new concern, especially if you're going over to Europe. It seems like they hate them. But I also heard from him as I was talking to him about blue and green inks possibly having a carcinogen that is changed or released when it encounters sunlight. It seems to me, wouldn't that then be the same in the body? And what concerns do we have here?
Yeah, for me personally, reading that whole EU report that came out a while back, it kind of made you not even want to get a tattoo. And so a lot
I've
of
been pretty much black and gray since.
Yeah, I would say like you have to look at it this way. There have been unknown ingredients in pigments since the beginning of tattoo pigments, and just there's never been any regulation there. And there's never been a call for regulation because there's no epidemic of people getting cancer from these tattoos. If every 1 out of 5 people got cancer from a blue tattoo, then we'd have something to be really overly concerned about, I think.
But we can say now that there are 0 cases that have been linked to blue or green ink in their
there has
tattoos.
Been 0 cases. Yeah, I mean, even the reports I've seen of people that are forming lymphatic cancer and stuff like that, it comes back inconclusive because there's other variables in their life. There's one major story about a guy who got a really advanced form. I'll keep the story really short, but at the end of the day, they found out his work environment was probably more to cause for the lymphatic cancer. And it was a report that came out that said, hey, tattoo removal could be a reason why this person had lymphatic cancer. And they
Did he have removal done then?
He had some removal done, yep.
Okay.
And they found black sludge in his lymphatic system. And then there's a group of scientists out in Germany who did a follow-up on this. And they found that people that have multiple tattoos all have it, whether they had laser or not. The people that had laser had less. And then they even found black sludge in people's lymphatics that had no tattoos. So there's carbon and different things that our body absorbs and filters through. At the end of the day, all these reports, especially like my wife, she's a university professor here in London, Ontario. Even one of her colleagues is doing the same report. And at the end of the day, it's about trying to reduce any carcinogens that might be cancer causing in places like Canada or the EU, where we have universal healthcare, because it's one of the biggest strains. So the goal is to find out where people, how people, and how to prevent it in order to alleviate the strain it's doing on the healthcare system at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's kind of where it comes from. I can get really in depth. I go through it in my class a lot, where we go really, really deep into it, because I think we have to realize that we are breaking down pigment. It's going through the bloodstream. It's going through the lymphatic system, and your body may interact with different elements in your body, and it might have a negative reaction. But as far as doing it all these years, I've never come across that. I mean, I've seen worst cases of people having
the next day, or
no. And one of the things I do with all my clients and what I teach my students is, even though there's no proof out there, there's nothing that's been, there's no studies that show it or anything, I still think that people shouldn't do large areas. So if you came with me in a big chest piece, or you have a large, sleeve or something, I'm still going to break that down into like 3 or 4 sections, where you might only do, 5 or 6 square inches of the tattoo, come back in 4 weeks, hit that spot, hit a different spot again, and then rotate back and forth. So you have 8 weeks between. So you're not just putting a large dump of pigment through the body. And
Yeah,
so
I
that's
follow.
me erring on the side of caution. When I first started, I had no mentors. Like we're talking, back in the day, I had tattoo artists who I'd walk in the shop, they'd kick me out because they were like, "Why are you removing our art?" Now it's a little bit different. But I would tell those guys, "Look, just give me a
Yeah,
chance.
now
I
we
can
see
take
you
some stuff
like an
out for you."
eraser. We just want a
Yeah.
really
So I'm like,
smart eraser. We want the best one.
all that, all that stuff you practice on yourself, I'd like, just give me a shot. They'd give me a shot, and in order to impress them, I would do too much. And when I did too
Okay.
much, they would get swelling, they get blisters, and they were like, "I don't ever want to do that again." And for me, it taught me that, hey, doing too much is not only uncomfortable for them or creates a bad user experience, but I'm also getting better results when I only do a little bit, wait 4 weeks, do a different spot, wait 4 weeks, and do a different spot. So if I can reduce the amount on the heat they absorb and also the amount that goes through the lymphatic system, I'm going to give them better results. They're not going to have any issues. Their body's going to be able to flush an appropriate amount out so that it just doesn't get lodged in the lymphatic system. So there is
What's
very
that look?
smart ways to do this.
What's that look like for times you say? So, what, 15 minutes to half an hour or something like that, or is it more just about
Oh,
size and
second.
the amount of ink?
Yeah, I mean, a treatment for me really lasts maybe, most tattoos I get done in seconds. Larger pieces that the 5 inch range might take me 5 minutes at the most with breaks. So it's a really quick process. My thing is always, if it took you an hour to get the tattoo, it's going to take me like 10 seconds to do the treatment.
Are you saying seconds? I've
Yeah,
sat through
yeah.
lasering. It did not take. I mean, it wasn't.
You got these bigger spot sizes and stuff like that. So if I'm using like a 6 or 7 millimeter spot size, I'm going to be able to cover that like a big marker, 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, and I'm pretty much done. If somebody needs a break here and there, or I need to ice them down a little bit, yeah, the whole treatment process from start to finish could take a little bit longer. But actual laser to skin is going to be seconds for a smaller
Seconds.
tattoo.
Awesome.
What were you lasering?
I had a shoulder cap piece. I guess it's almost a quarter sleeve. I guess is pretty much what I was.
Yeah,
So the
that's a
top
pretty big
upper
spot.
arm. Yeah, we went over it a bit. I mean, it's still there, but it was also, I think it was like an Indonesian machine, something my
Did it
friends
bleed?
got. Did it bleed? No, the tattoo didn't bleed.
Did it
Um,
blister?
it did get really white. It didn't blister. It didn't really scar necessarily that I
Good.
think either. It looks like scarring because the pigment's missing in spots. But
Yeah. If
yeah,
you look at a tattoo, like a treatment being done, and it looks like someone's drawing like a pencil on it, almost like little tiny white dots everywhere, that's
mhm,
probably going to be something that's going to be a tabletop laser. Some of the stuff we use, like I said, has a 7 millimeter diameter beam, so that's a pretty large wide beam
decent
that we can
size.
kind of cover a lot of. Yeah, there's some out there that have 10. Like our laser has 10. I rarely use it, but it has an ability to go 10. There's some out there like 13 millimeter. There's one coming out soon that has like a 22 millimeters. So there's things on there where it's just on the bigger the diameter of the beam, the more area you're going to cover, and the faster that treatment's going to take.
That then being the benefit. Why wouldn't you use the 10 millimeter more often? Just because it's not the tattoos you're coming
The
in contact with aren't that size.
the laser has a governor on it, so it allows you only so much energy. So sometimes I'd like to get a better reaction in that first treatment. So I need a little bit more energy. And at that first treatment, that tattoo is going to be the darkest it's ever going to be. It's never going to be darker than that throughout the treatment process. So I'm going to get the highest absorption rate on that first treatment. So I want to make sure that I have the ability to use enough energy at that point to get a really strong reaction so that my client comes back and says, "Dang, this looks amazing. You told me I wasn't going to see any significant results until 2 weeks after my second treatment. I'm seeing them right now." So they're excited, they're motivated, they're seeing the progress because there's a proof of concept here. There's a lot
Right.
of bad stigmas associated here. Like people like, "Oh, I had laser," or "My friend had laser, it didn't work," or you hear all these things. But if people are doing it the right way and they're getting trained the right way and they're using the right equipment, those shouldn't be issues anymore. Or if you have a tattoo that's 1 or 2 years old and it's used triple black ink and it's a cover up or whatever you have, and there's other variables that can make it harder to remove. If you're not explaining that to your client, then their expectations are going to be out of whack.
Okay. Yeah.
Nothing makes me upset is more seeing like a clinic saying 2 treatments almost gone, and they show a tattoo that's 50% gone. What they're not telling the rest of the world is that they're just removing mag, black and gray, diluted black pigment, that stuff's easy to remove. It's the heavy line work that you want to get results with. That's the stuff you want to show people, because that's the stuff that's harder to cover up. It's usually, more visible. And so, yeah, I mean, it's all about honest
it's deeper in the skin
expectations.
typically too, right? The line work.
Yeah, over time, that heavy carbon pigment can settle really deep into the skin, deeper than when your artist initially put it.
Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't. I still tattoo. But I'm gonna say I always put my line work in deeper than my actual color, or so was my imagination. My coil machines that I used to use back in the day, they had a longer stroke on them, and I purposely, I mean, at least we were taught that. I've learned a lot since. These kids come up nowadays, they don't have the same the same learning mechanisms from some old disgruntled guy, and so they seem to be learning some better tricks quicker.
Yeah, man, that's the tattoos I see often. That's the tattoos me and Jeff see in the clinic all the time. It's not the beautiful, nice work that someone sought out their artist and they have these new techniques and new styles. It's oftentimes it's the first tattoo they got, it's their tattoo they got when they were younger. Now they're making room, or when they had a heavy hand or a longer stroke when they were practicing on themselves because that's how they were taught. Now they know something different, so those are the tattoos I see. So I need to be able to understand the application process. That's why Jeff and we watch tattoo artists, we study them, we do little mini internships and stuff, and we go and just watch different people do their craft, and we try to say, okay, that's why that tattoo looks like that, because that technique was used or that type of pigment was used. And I think that's really sets us apart.
That's the way we do cover-ups too, kind of. I mean, when you're doing a cover-up, it's almost like you're deconstructing, you're figuring out how they constructed this tattoo. Oftentimes you're like, what the fuck were they thinking? I imagine you're going through the same stuff. What the fuck were they thinking? Yeah, tell me that.
No, not that. Well, that too. But I've heard that. But I've actually heard people talk about, like, I actually, a lot of the artists that come through my class are cover-up artists, or just to the point where, like, there's just some stuff I just can't cover up anymore, man. Like, I'm really good at what I want, but I need to be able to bring laser in my shop so that my cover-ups are even better. And so that's what they'll say. Like, you don't know what that other person did to put that tattoo on, and it's up to me to look for these little cues. Different, how did they pull the lines? Did they not lift enough time? Did they drag? Did they do all these little things where I need to know where that internal scar tissue at? Because if I don't know where that internal scar tissue is, I don't know how well the ink is going to take in this area, and I might have to alter my design because of that.
Is that when you say design, you're not talking, you're not putting, you are
I'm
putting
talking about no, I'm talking about a tattoo artist has told me that they do cover up. So, like, I have to see what that other person put on somebody. Like a cover-up artist, like you said, they're deconstructing it. They got to see, what areas can I get good saturation in? What areas can I, go a little bit lighter? What colors can I add color to? Is this color going to stay?
Where the scar is going to fuck me up?
Exactly.
One thing you sometimes see is a big pile of black and then just scars that you're like, I can still read a name right there.
Yep. Or they just pack that color on top of it too, and that color fades over time, and then that tattoo starts showing up again.
Yes. Oh, that was especially real common. 2005 or so. That was the way we all did our cover-ups. It was like you just put anything over top of it. Big bold outline's gonna, bold will hold, and then we beat the shit out of the skin maybe a little bit more. Oh man, again, these are things I shouldn't even admit to. Sorry, you've probably seen my work in there. What I've been,
no comment.
You've seen the worst. No. You've seen the worst of everything though. What is your favorite? Are there memorable? You can share, right? This isn't like an attorney client privilege. No, you're like, no, these poor people. I was not wife names and stuff like that. What's your favorite crazy tattoo that you've had to, or been able to?
When I was really young, this is still one of my top ones. I mean, obviously, well, I guess there's no kids watching the show, but I think one of the ones I always revert back to is a young woman had Tony the Tiger from the cereal box coming out of her butt crack saying, "That's great." I've had Jesus.
Hey, how well was that done?
I imagine
beard. It nice. Okay,
it was not done well. It was not.
Yeah. It also seems like the people that would do these tattoos or how they would get sourced. Because the person who's going to get Tony Tiger out of their butt crack, at least at that stage in their life, they're not like, yeah, no, I'm ready to spend $1,200 on this. I want it to look good. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, it's up there, man. We get the penis tattoos, they're always like half finished because it's a painful place for
Yep.
them to get tattooed. Jeff got some stories too, I'm sure, out of New York.
Jeff, you got what's your most memorable removal?
Oh yeah. My first one, it was actually the first person that ever walked into my clinic, and the guy came in, no visible tattoos. He was real nervous, and I was like, "Can I see it?"
Professional type of person? Is that what I'm
Yeah.
getting here too?
Yeah, and he goes, well, I was like, "Can I see your tattoo?" And he goes, "Well, there's a story." And
Uh-huh.
I was like,
This is always good. I like the unveiling where it's like
yeah,
you can't just pull it out and be like, yeah, here. You're like,
yeah,
well,
Sit
there's a
down, son. Let
backside.
me let me
You're
tell you a
going
little
to
something.
judge me harshly. I think that's
yeah.
also what that's saying, right?
And the first line of the story was, "So I'm dating this crazy Albanian chick," and
Mhm.
I was like, "This is gonna be good." But yeah. So I guess he messed around on her, got caught. She was gonna leave. He was like, "Give me another chance. I'll never be
Yeah,
with the woman
yeah.
again." He said,
And this always works.
Get my name on your junk." Uh,
Wow. Oh, I
And
think we might have lost you, brother.
funny enough, that's how me and Jeff met. No.
Oh yeah.
Joking.
And you no longer date Albanians? Is that the
No,
punchline
yeah,
then too?
I'm off the
he
Albanians.
went and got
Yeah.
it done. Came back.
I'm on to Armenian women. Sorry. We lost you for a minute, Jeff. Um
Oh, I don't know.
obviously
My keeps cutting.
I want to hope that for this guy's sake, right, that the name was super long. I don't know. All right. Like at least it's like Esmeralda. You could have, I used to have Esmeralda tattoo. At least it's bragging right at some point.
Yeah, man. I mean, you see some wild stuff. You start to learn some of the codes and what different things mean and stand for. You also, you see silly stuff, but you see some really sad stuff too.
When you say codes, you mean gang affiliated or
Well,
something of that nature?
they're all different kinds. You have some stuff that's gang affiliated. You have some stuff that's actually trafficking codes,
Mhm.
and then you have stuff that are just weird things that people do. Like I think pineapples are code for swingers or an upside down
Yeah.
pineapple. And
Yeah. If you go on a cruise, I learned that there.
yeah,
Like you find magnets of upside down pineapples on doors. You're like, that's weird. Right?
yeah,
Like, no, it's not that weird. This whole cruise is actually swinging.
yeah, and other things like ram's heads could mean ram it and things like there's all like kind of weird.
Wait, could mean ram it. What are you talking? Just completely sexual?
Yeah, yep. Well,
Okay, right on.
and because I'd seen a few of them, and usually they were either in the front or in the back, and then I saw one that actually said "ram it" on top of it,
And
then
suddenly
I was like,
the whole thing,
oh.
yeah, comes into greater clarity for you. Ah,
After that, I
these
was
are
like,
fans of hard poundings.
yeah, I know what that means.
I thought they just like trucks, but apparently I learned some.
Yeah, Dodge, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, man, the Dodge Ram.
Yeah, that's a truck girl there.
yeah,
Oh God, maybe it was duplicitous. Maybe there was.
yeah.
I we've had fun, of course, covering up tattoos for the same reason, because sometimes they are the stupidest. One guy came in who he was a terrible human being. I don't even know if this is just you could tell, right? And he's explaining why he needs to get a certain tattoo to cover up his ex-wife's name, soon to be ex-wife's name. She's divorcing him over his junk. And he's like, yeah, she caught me cheating. I went and got this tattoo, and then the dumb bitch still wouldn't stick with me. Like, right? Yeah, yeah. She's really stupid there. I don't know. She's passing up on this. At any rate, I love it because it's always a story, right? Like when someone comes into the shop and they say, and I want to get a cover up. It's not obvious or whatever, and then you ask, well, yeah, let's see it.
Yep.
And then the story starts, and it's like immediately I almost have to keep from smiling because I know this whole thing's going to be good. Like, and I want most of it too. I really stop them. They try to get through it sometimes too quick for me. I'm like, no, give me the setting. Yeah. Tell me,
Made a
no,
mood for
really
me.
physical descriptions. Yeah, I want to know,
I
was it
have
in
to
the summertime?
I have to tell students sometimes. I'm like, first rule of tattoo removal is never ask why. If you can't tell what it is, don't ask what it is, and don't ask why they're getting removed. You will eventually get the story, but sometimes, man, it can get deep in there. Like you're like, oh, what did I just walk into? And been
Right.
in crazy situations where husbands are walking in the office and I'm hearing about them cheating on each other, or I'm just like, I had one woman walk in, she had Sean on her, like the name Sean tattooed on her like 4 different places, and they were all spelled different. Yeah, man, it gets
I
sticky
just
in
like
there.
Sean's. It just turns out
She
I like
did.
Sean's. Really?
And Alejandro was paying for all the Sean's to be removed.
Right on. Yeah, I'd be mad about it too. I'm not even Alejandro. I guess all the Sean's, do you think they were just easy into it when it was spelled
She said
different?
she
And
just
then,
liked guys named Sean. That's what she said. She's like, I just ended up with guys named Sean. One dude seen Sean was tattooed on me. He wanted to tattoo his name on me,
yeah,
and I just let
always.
him do it. And I was like, okay, cool.
That seems to be the answer inside the shop too. It's like, so you make the mistake and you get a name tattooed on you. Not only do you need to cover up that name or get removed or whatever, you also now need to get your current lover's name tag, because no one gets it removed when that person, whether by themselves. You know what I mean? You're single, you got other shit to do again. You're like, I'm working on these parts. Oh yeah, I still got this name. I fucking hate it. Whatever. Still going with my. Then you get with somebody and they're like, I can't stand looking at that. You have to go get it tattooed. But now also, to show me that you love me more, you need to get this tattoo twice as big. You need to put my name on you.
Man,
So I don't know, the greatest irony. Do you then, have you become convinced like I am? I'm 100% convinced. I know that there are anomalies out there where people get tattooed and they stay together. I just have never met anyone who has been tattooed in my presence that has ever stayed together.
It definitely seems like the curse. It's just like the opposite of, you hear those stories of like some couple was married for 50 years and then one died and 2 weeks later the other one died. It's the same shit. It's they were together for 10 years, then they got a tattoo of the name, and 3 weeks later they broke up and never spoke to each other again.
I've done
they're
it.
probably doing it to save the relationship.
I've become this jaded asshole. Recently, I just got my ass kicked, I think, because I was laughing at a guy who was putting his name on his girl. I mean, he was pissy about it because I was like, oh, you're tempting fate. Right on. Fucking dumb. Right? Like, I'm too honest. They should just shut up, I
Well,
guess.
the best part about laser, man, is that when people do cover up that name, the name's usually done in liner. So there's a heavy liner, it's black, and then whatever someone covered up, maybe they mag or shaded over it, or did a little flower that has a little bit of line work in it. But once we start lasering that tattoo, that color and stuff starts to fade, and you actually end up seeing the name underneath it. So if I'm in a consult with somebody, I'm like, hey, look, this looks like a cover up. I could spot them a million miles away, probably just like you can. And I'm like, if it's a cover up, whatever's under there will show up. And I can see the hesitation where someone's like, nope, not a cover up, just, don't like it anymore. And then I'm like, okay, just, cover up tattoos. You can end up seeing what's underneath it as the tattoo starts to fade.
They really
The
lie to you
husband,
even at that point, huh?
oh, well, because their partner's sitting there. Their partner's like right next to them, and they don't even know that's
Right.
under there.
You need private
So I'm taking
consultations
them.
sometimes.
Yeah, I'm taking them to then I take them to the treatment room. The first thing they ask as soon as that door closed, like, is that really going to happen? Does that really, like, yeah, you might want to go tell Bob that Jerry's sitting underneath his flower over here, go have a quick convo with him real quick, because you're going to have a rude awakening tomorrow morning when he sees that name
Right.
under there.
Well, the reason that she's not telling you, my imagination, is that it's not just Jerry underneath there. It's like Jack and Jerry, that has been covered up once, and then he had to get the bigger one. And she's like, I just didn't want it, because if I tell him I got that, then now I have to get his stupid name on the.
I've seen a 7-time cover up, and that was interesting because you're just seeing layers of different tattoos underneath this tattoo. So they got one covered up,
like
covered up, covered up.
peeling
and
the
it's just
paint
like,
off an apartment building, huh?
Exactly. You're like, oh, you were into Nirvana. I see that. Okay. You were into Dolphins. All right, I got that. It just keeps changing. I think the funniest
that
one is the
also
cop,
becomes
though.
a time, right? Like 1988 Dolphins. Right on.
Yeah, you got a chronological history of your likes on your arm.
That Tasmanian Devil around the same time. Now, if anybody even remembers that, this is, I'm almost thankful we don't see the Tasmanian Devil in every adult scenario now. It
Some
seemed like
TikToker will
the
bring it
thing
back.
to do. I hope not.
It'll be like
Yeah.
the new thing. Like it'll be tattoos that are like 90s tattoos or 80s tattoos or 70s tattoos that the young kids try to revamp and bring back.
Yeah. Well, it's just me.
Like
I'm
they did
just
with
like
traditional.
Taz, man. You've seen Taz spin around. I'm just like Taz. I always heard it every single fucking time. Okay, yeah, I'll do it, man. Shot minimum.
I get the Tweety birds a lot. That's the one I remove a lot. Tweety birds on the butt.
Really? On the butt.
Yeah, a lot of butts on Tweety birds
I
on the
thought
butt.
I
Yeah,
saw
man.
a putty cat. Is there something there then?
There has to be some there. It's usually older ladies in that 40, 50-year-old range. And they're just tired of looking at Tweety bird on their butt.
Oh, it don't look the same no more. I don't. Used to be, I
I
was
ain't gonna
proud
go
to
there,
show
man.
off my tattoo. Now I'm like, haven't been hitting the stair stepper.
There's a joke there, but I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, you was. I don't know. I'll show you my tattoo, but do you like the bumps in the butt? Just curious. I'm hoping. So.
I remember the very first advertising my dad ever did on TV when we were doing. This was back in the '90s, and the advertisement was. I hope I can find it someday. I'll probably post it one day, but it was like, "Do you have a Garfield tattoo?" And now Garfield doesn't look so much like Garfield, and then it turned into like it morphed into a giraffe on a lady's chest. Yeah.
Would you do?
Back then.
Did you do some Photoshop to make that work?
It wasn't us. It was some advertising guy who did it, and back then we weren't as politically correct as we are now, and it went on TV and stuff.
Lovely.
Is your Garfield now a giraffe? That's what it went. That's what they said. I think the terms they used. But yeah, it was definitely a interesting little advert.
Do you figure that tattoo removal from here? I'm used to talking about seconds for actual application of the tattoo removal. I guess there's an application, de-application. But so where does it go from here? Where's the future for tattoo removal?
It's well, I know Jeff has some big ideas. I don't know if we can say all of our ideas on here because we want to hold on to some of those. But as far as it goes, it's really just about client education, letting people know how to get the right equipment, where to go, how to find a seasoned technician, how to find people who are fully certified. Understanding that there's patience involved in it, so it's time between treatments, more time you put between them. As far as doing the design stuff, that's fun. Where we can actually laser designs into the skin someday. Maybe one day there'll be abilities to give people a precise number of treatments based on their skin saturation.
Would you ever be able to apply ink with lasers?
I don't know. That's out of my pay grade there, man.
Or the precision. I was threatened by this, so I'm not asking like, oh, I hope I'm going to have a new job. I'm just going to have a copy machine and just come and sit down on a bed and.
Well,
I think people have done that, but it doesn't. It defeats the purpose of tattooing, right? You want to get something that's specific to you, that's a good style, that's original, and if everybody's just going and get the same program put on them, then it's not going to be an original experience, and you're not earning it.
I don't know. It used to be. Now, I don't know if it's the same. I think that people are sometimes happy to not have original as much as they bring me Pinterest pictures of tattoos.
Let me ask this, Kyle. What do you feel about ephemeral tattoos? Are you familiar with that?
What's that? On the femoral leg?
No, ephemeral tattoos are the new temporary tattoo. So you're basically going in. They have a proprietary blend of pigment, and it's advertised as the tattoo will fade in 6 months to a year. They're saying they're lasting a lot longer. People that got them, they're now lasting 2-3 years. But that's kind of the goal, is to get people to get these tattoos that they know they won't have to live with for their whole life.
I fucking love it. I hate it. There's a huge part of me that hates it, but I'm a confused person, and I like to try and entertain as many thoughts as I can, especially the ones that can contradict each other. So in this case, of course, I hate it. My soul is just like, oh, it's terrible. Fucking make a decision. Stick with it. Be dedicated. That's what this shit's about. And then there's the business side of me that's like, yeah, fuck yeah. Now, but scarring. And these ephemeral tattoos then too, seems like there's a greater concern that more of that is going to be in the lymphatic system.
So yeah, but it's an organic based ingredient. So anytime you
The
have
whole
purely
reason it goes
organic
away is
ingredients,
that okay?
yeah,
Yeah, then it shouldn't
exactly.
be so
And I
problematic.
think they're using different machines too. So their machines are more based on like something you would use for cosmetic makeup. So the penetration isn't as deep. It's not heavily saturated. You don't have as much internal
Mhm.
scar tissue. And so all that comes into play when your tattoo is starting to fade. As far as lasering them, I just started lasering a few, and they go away like in seconds. Like I mean,
So
like
how did you like
where
that? You loved it.
I loved it, yeah. And like from you, I don't like it from a traditional kind of
Yeah.
knowing that what people put into their art and their career. As far as like someone who looks at it from a business perspective, I knew a lady who she invented the first removable tattoo pigment, and this was back
Hmm.
probably 15 years ago. Her company went bankrupt because every artist was like, I'm not using something. She couldn't get the market to adapt to it. And for
Yeah.
me as a business person, I said, wouldn't it be great to tattoo something on you, live with it for a year or two, and say, what, I do like having this on my body, and then having it touched up, and with
Yeah.
professional pigment that's going to last, and then you have two clients in one body as an
Now
artist.
there's another
But it
like the
just
other
didn't.
aspect there is just the way that the skin ages too, because my tattoo
True,
looks great now. 10 years from now, it's still looking good. But once that body starts to sag and stuff, everything changes.
true.
And I wouldn't mind it. I don't know. I could see I see a benefit there.
So if you look at the future, though, look, there's phantom lasers, and that's like the next evolution that everybody talks about in our industry, where you leave the heat in the skin instead of 1 billionth or 1 trillionth of a second. I think it's 1 gazillionth of a second, so that when the laser attracts that pigment, I know I didn't even know gazillionth was an actual thing. I thought it was
Right,
a made up
right.
cartoon thing, but
Yeah,
apparently it
I
is.
just figured that out myself. I'm like, this guy is telling me the truth,
So
right? You just fucking
yeah,
blowing
I know.
smoke up
I
my
looked up.
ass.
I was like, I had to look it up too, man. I swear to God,
Is
I
that
did. I
like
was like, this sounds
muffler
like bullshit.
bearings and shit? See, your
But
muffler
anyway,
bearings
so
are just yeah, go on.
the goal is that it'll attract to the pigment and just virtually evaporate it, because instead of using heat or trauma or the gonna be in there for such a quick amount of time, the pressure is going to be so intense that it's going to evaporate it into vapor, and your body will metabolize it that way. But
Metabolize the
that's
vapor of the ink.
yeah, so
Oh,
that's like what people have been talking about for the last like 5 to 7 years. No one's come up with that technology yet to do it or to test it. But that's kind of where the laser industry is thinking.
is headed towards like a plasma
Hmm.
degasification almost
It's
of
all theory
ink.
based right now, but yeah,
The stuff happens though, right? I mean, we've seen it. You've
yeah,
seen it, I
no
guess,
doubt.
as you. This was an emerging industry for you as you first came into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my dad told me, he's like, "This is a fad. I don't even know why you're wasting your time with this thing. Like it's
I love
horrible.
that.
People are getting scarred. They're getting this and that. And we had diode lasers that were just burning the ink out. My first client had a giant swastika on her head, and we
Oh
just
God,
bled the ink out of the top of her head every 4 weeks.
is
That's
big
how it
scar
used to
though
be.
left over? Or?
Oh yeah, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. And I come out of it looking like a butcher. Now I go in there for 10 to 50 seconds, and I make a couple $100, and that client's in and out of the door. That's fully healed, no breaks to the skin. They're in 2 days. They don't even notice there's anything that's happened, even though the tissue underneath is still healing for the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
But they can go about their daily life, and it's not going to it's not going to
Water
affect
help
their.
with that too, with the removal process. Then,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
like
want to
just
stay
drinking
hydrated.
plenty of water. Okay.
Absolutely, man.
Sorry,
I mean, Jeff
I
is
kind of jumping around on my thoughts here, but
no,
yeah,
that's
it
we love
seems
it,
to me
man.
that
Keeps us on our
if
toes.
takes 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, it will still be possibly healing. So
Underneath the
that's
skin, yeah,
also time that
it
it
won't
is
be
removing
visible.
or weakening. How long is
So
the weakening area, if you follow me? So like it's still healing, but at what point does it stop losing pigment and just heal?
this I'll use myself as an example. I have two giant dragons on my back shoulders. I lasered them only one time each, one with a Q-switch laser, one with a Pico laser. I spent about 5.5 years of them just healing after one treatment, and they're not just healing, but just living with prove that more time between treatments is better. So the one with Pico is about 95% gone with only one single treatment 5.5 years ago. T-switch one's about 85% gone with one single treatment 5.5 years ago. So my body's going to continue metabolizing that pigment over time. And obviously that's not a great business model, one treatment, wait 5.5 years. But for me, it proves my concept that like, if you have a laser treatment done and you're going to a place that wants you to do it every 4 weeks, you're not going to see great results. You're going to damage the skin, but put it out 8 weeks, 6 weeks for the tissue to heal, and then an extra 2 weeks for your body to kind of metabolize that pigment. And then you come in again, you cause agitation. And every time you cause agitation, the body's going to send a healing response there. And when it sends that healing response there, it restarts that whole cycle of, oh, there's impurities here. We need to heal it. We need blood, cell, macrophage, all these things in that area. And that's what's going to help remove the pigment faster. So after about 3 or 4 treatments, we've pretty much crystallized all the ink in your tattoo. After that, if you wanted to leave it in 2.5 years or so, your tattoo would probably be more than 90% gone. But the reason we keep treating it is because we keep agitating different layers of the dermis. And with every agitation, it restarts that healing cycle, which eventually comes in and removes the pigment. Exactly. Or breaking the pigment down into smaller pigment particles as well.
Hmm. What if I tattoo that area then that has had laser, since that new ink has not been hit with the laser, it stays, yet the other laser ink would continue to remove?
Yep.
Okay.
You have to think of your ink particles. They're like giant bowling balls, right? And your body they're liquid balls in your skin, and the body can't remove them because they're so large and heavy.
Trying not to laugh.
I knew. As soon as I said it, I was like, this guy ain't gonna be able to not laugh at the word balls.
Wrong age group.
I know.
Yeah.
You got some big old balls in your no.
I'm second grade all the time.
I knew what I was getting into when I joined this podcast. But yeah, so you have these large molecules of ink that your body just can't remove, and it either gets stuck there in the macrophage, but once that laser hits it, it breaks them open, turns them into little shards of like glass or sand. Some people use those terminology, but it turns it into a solid. That's that white frosting you've seen when you got lasered. That's cavitation. That's all the steam and oil and everything removing from coming out of the top of the skin. Inside your skin, you have these little molecules now that are not a liquid form, they're a solid form, and those make it much easier for your body to remove. So the other new tattoo you got, that's still large liquid molecules or large balls as you prefer, that can't be removed yet. So your body's just going to take what it can. It's like little vacuum cleaners in your body trying to clean up all the small little particles around it. And
yeah, and what's particle is going to take and what's liquid is going to stay.
Pretty much size is, how big are the balls is going to determine how quick
no, not the fragments. I thought we were turning these into shards now.
Yeah, we are. But I'm talking, you said if you get a new tattoo put on, how come the new tattoo doesn't go away?
Okay. Yes.
And that's because there's still large liquid
balls.
molecules in there. Yep, exactly. Yes. All the particles we broke up, they'll fade over time, like my back. Like they're still fading to this day. And they're, like I said, 95, 85% gone each shoulder. And, and it proves a couple different things too. Like if you're a healthy person, there was a time when my 2 tattoos on my back stopped fading at all. They just weren't moving. I was like, okay, that's all the pigment that's going to go. And then I had some health issues. I had a surgery done. I got started eating better and going to the gym and stuff. And then they started lightening again. So that showed me, that also proved my point about having health, having an impact on the removal process.
Right. So you were partying a bunch or something like that. And you think, and
working my ass off. Yeah. Running like 5 clinics on the East Coast, eating steak dinners every night, whiskey, not sleeping, traveling, and just, really kind of running my body through the ringers. Once I of got out of that and, I slowed down a little bit and, let my wife listen to my wife a little bit more. And, my health got better and, things started moving again.
Listen to your wife a little bit more. That's what we're going to take away from that. You should always listen to your wife. She wanted you to be healthy. Is that what she was telling you, to take some time off or not?
Yeah, I was just going too hard, man. I was in that entrepreneur mode and, just really, really trying to be the best in the industry, and it took its toll.
Did you achieve it?
Yeah, man. And, it's the more money you get, the more money you spend too. So it was a great experience. But, you have to prioritize certain things, and especially with business too. You have to say, now I have a kid, I want to spend that time. But now I work a lot smarter and not as hard, and, understand that I need to sleep and eat healthy if I'm going to be productive.
I follow. Jeff, we were talking earlier before you got a chance to join. There are even now you are considering spots on your body to open up, even though you have amazing work.
Yep.
Sometimes that you might have to make a decision between seeing something that you still love go away so you can get something new. This is a real struggle in your life?
It is. It does. It changes. It changes the way you kind of plan out your whole body, because I think, certainly when I was younger, and even well into my 30s and stuff, it was like I'd have an idea that I liked, I'd have an empty spot on my body, and I'd get something there. And it wasn't until everything started filling up where I realized, okay, I like a lot of this work now, but it doesn't really flow together. It's not like, I think now, because you have young people who, they're planning out their whole bodies in their first like couple of years getting tattooed. And it's because I guess there's not as much hesitation or it's not as
societal acceptance now too, right?
But because of that, you're seeing some really beautiful things where people's like, it starts at their hand and one design goes all the way down their whole side to the bottom of their leg. And it does kind of get me thinking, oh, if I could do it all over again, although I love a lot of these pieces, I'd at least lay them out differently so it all kind of blends into each other. And because of that, I have removed some nice work that just didn't fit in that spot. And I'm removing my entire back right now, because instead of 4 kind of decent pieces that don't go well together, I want one large, beautiful
cohesive
back piece,
Who's doing it?
I haven't decided yet. I have to figure out the exact concept first. I usually start with the design and then find an artist that I think would be a good match for that concept.
So you find the design yourself too, or you say you find the concept first?
I find the concept first.
They'd find a design.
And then I go to it. But I have to decide kind of what style I want, whether I want color or black and gray, and what kind of thing. And then once I have a rough idea in my mind, I'll go and start looking for artists that I think are a right fit for that. When I've tried to do it the other way, when I have, just want something from an artist and I kind of force an idea on them that isn't really their wheelhouse or what they want, it hasn't worked out as well. For me, at least, I start out with a concept and then I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for this artist or that artist.
I thought people all day long. I get that's so difficult sometimes in picking designs with a client.
Yep.
Because so many people will come to me and show me something that is in my wheelhouse that they have gotten from somebody else, and I will just be jaw drop. Wow, that's amazing. Yep. And then they'll be like, dude, okay, so what I want you to do is some traditional ship. Like, what? That's not, which is not my, I'm like, how is it that you showed me a skull? It was awesome. That's all I ever want to do. Skulls. All right, I'm not telling the truth. There's a lot of other stuff I want to do, but I mean, anytime somebody comes in, they're like, dude, this guy did this cool piece. Let's just, let's enjoy it. And we look at it. We talk about different intricacies of it, sees that I'm in love with it. And then like, okay, so I want it. And they just crush my dreams. They're just like, okay, so I really want to limit your choices though, and your ability for design. I think I didn't control this one enough. That's why it looks so cool. Let me really control this one. I'm a plumber by trade, so I know how to build tattoos. I'm going to go ahead and I'm sorry. Now, but I can almost tell when I may have stayed too long and said too much when I start talking about my work on a podcast about yours. Let me give you guys an opportunity to put me on the hot seat as my wife likes to do. And this is the hardest segment to introduce. It's the only segment I do. But I hate it that much. But please do, if there's any questions that you would have for me, let me do that. Let me give you the opportunity to ask before we head out.
Well, do you have anything you want to get lasered again? We'd love to.
Oh yes, I still need this piece that I've started, and now I had three sessions on. That is actually my very first tattoo included, which nobody knows.
Well,
But it used to say when I was 13, I tripped some LSD with some friends. We got an Indian ink and some needle and thread. And it said I rule on my arm from that day on. 13-year-old pudgy boy with an afro and just covering up. I was wearing sleeves. Worst. I think that's why I was scared of not scared of tattoos, but it never seemed like an outlet for me until after I was old enough to see that there was actual art there, because it all seemed like such a stupid thing. And then when I started to see art, it changed my opinion on tattoos, obviously. But then I got it covered up 2 more times. So yeah, we'll see layers under here. I'm wondering if I would ever rule again. Would I, if I was getting this lasered off?
You gotta let me have that.
If we get back to that, I don't know. I might feel so attached. I would just, build a whole sleeve around that.
Well, I was gonna bring up Jeff's last tattoo, but I'll let him do it if he wants to. But yeah, man, if you ever get down to the base, then you can always like use that as a stencil to lay a tattoo over it again. So get rid of all the other crap. You'll see your old tattoo at the base there. And then
it's in there the deepest for sure. We put it in with the needle and thread.
Man.
I think I would keep it as crisp as it is. We had cool. not even crisp. It was so. I mean, we took an ink cap, a sewing needle, and then wrapped thread around that ink cap and sewing needle so that we could absorb some ink in it, and then just push it until it goes through every layer of skin. I mean, I think it's somewhere in my bone.
That's how they did it, man.
And as dumb as I am, I should have figured it out on the first time. My friend had it off center. I was like, whoa, hold up, man. No, you're doing it wrong. It's going to be off center. Do it on the other arm. So I got a partially started eye on the other.
It's great.
I liked it. I don't know. It was it's one of those things that to now I understand. I feel I understand the stigma around a bad tattoo, of which you guys are in the business of correcting in some large extent. But it's a feng shui for the body. And if you have the wrong tattoo, it can fuck up your whole life. If you have a poor looking tattoo, easily the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really impacts people a lot. You have some people, especially like I see it a lot with bad like microblading or bad eyebrows, where you have people who they're not thinking this is a face tattoo. These are people that sometimes have no other tattoos, but they go to they get a Groupon and they go and get microblading some shitty place, and then they don't want to leave their house because it's literally it completely changes the way they look. And
I won't say the star's name, but I know a TV star that covers up with the heaviest makeup her old tattooed eyebrows that are way too high on her head, and has to actually put them in proper now. She got them done by somebody who didn't know their business, and they were like made her super surprised all the time. She's always looking like she's in shock if she doesn't have makeup on. Now luckily they weren't done well either, so they're not super dark. But can you guys then laser? You must laser around the eye too.
We don't do inside the orbital cavity. So if someone has like on their eyelids or eyeliner, we won't do it. But the eyebrows we can do. We have lenses that go over it. And there are other safety precautions that we can take in extreme cases, lenses that go under the eyelid. But for the most part, I tend to Lorenzo does some of that stuff. I tend to stay if it's within the orbital cavity. I won't do it.
Has to be a special case, man. You don't want to get too close to the eye, man. It's there's a lot of risk there. And, I usually will either advise like medical professional or work in tandem with a doctor to do it. But the eyebrows, the big one right now, though, is the guys that are having the stippling on the top of the head, where they're tattooing the hairline in. So it looks like the shaved head. And they're having a lot of issues with those lasting long. So we're seeing an influx of people getting those done as well.
What, getting it removed? After it's
removed, after a couple of years, because the ink oxidizes and turns like that purplish blue color. And then, or they're shaving their head on the sides, and then the head looks two-toned because of the exfoliation. And Yeah, so I don't think that method has been perfected yet, but there are some guys that are just amazing at doing it right now.
Yes. I've heard of different. I bet that's why this guy was saying you want to use a special ink on the head then, which I think he was saying
Yeah,
was
there's some
almost
guys that are
charcoal
really, really good
based.
at it, and there's some people that are just, they're using the wrong pigments and they're just
Well,
butchering people's heads.
it sounds like we've hit on two of the industry things. Then I think about so, and this just exasperates problems with it. I don't want to say that this is the problem, but one huge problem with those two, with microblading, especially even permanent cosmetics, and also with the hair stippling. But
Yep.
those things, people have learned that they can make more money teaching people how to do it. And now
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that are teaching and they're doing these courses and they're rushing people through and they're just trying to make as much money as they can. And then these people get out there with no real expertise, but just the worst thing in the world, an illusion of knowledge. And then they go out and they start actually learning like, oh, I guess you can't do that. That looks like that when you're, and when you say extreme case in the orbital socket, though, what cases have you done then? Was it it wasn't eyeshadow? That would you would ask someone to live with it or to get something corrected.
So
right?
like this is clients that have something that makes their eye look, really bad. Like one is much thicker than like the eyeliner. It's thicker, so
Okay.
now it looks like their eyes droopy and like it's affecting their day-to-day life, and they're self-conscious about it, and there's things like that. There's people that have had scarring in that area where you can use a laser to heat up that scar and minimize that area. I've done like lip liners, one we do kind of on a case by case basis, just because if someone messes up someone's lip liner, then it's uneven on their face. It throws the whole
face
their
off.
whole so throws it off the balance of it. And then with that, if you laser like lip liner, that special kind of ink they're using there, that special pigment, it oxidizes and turns black. So if I hit it with a laser, it's going to have black lip liner for 6 to 8 weeks before I get in there and hit it again, darken it some more, and then lighten it. So these are like cosmetic makeup removal is you have to be, like you said, people are like, I would say 25% of the people that I do removal from, they were tattooed by somebody who went to a permanent makeup, cosmetic, or SMP class, and their cousin went, and their cousin said, "Oh, let me practice on you," and like, okay, and they messed up their family members and stuff. So yeah, a lot of
I
that
hear it
comes
a
from
lot
that,
too. Candy will sometimes give a price for my wife does permanent cosmetics, and so she'll give a price sometimes. And there'll be somebody in the group of women there that mother hens them a little, and she'll be like, my cousin does that. It's way cheaper. And it's like, yeah, does your cousin? She just took a class, huh? Awesome. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Even for
Just
me,
a
like even
class.
when teaching like laser, people are like, "Well, your classes are really short and stuff like that." But I keep really small class sizes so that I can teach you the basics. Then I spend like months coaching you on everything. Send me all your files for your first clients. Like make sure you're doing the right settings. Even what I do, it can't be done in a weekend. It can't be done over online. They have to have coaching along with it, and so that's what I feel like I have. I can't do 5 or 10 people in a class like some of these bigger courses, because I couldn't give each one of those person the attention they need to be
Right.
really good at what
But you
they
can
need to do.
extend your expertise through the technology we have now. I follow.
Exactly.
That makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
There's a growth stage to everything, just like a tattoo apprentice. You can tell people how a tattoo is put on and the equipment you're using, and they can get all that knowledge. But until you're coaching them every step of the way of every different technique, then they're not going to get that knowledge. They're not going to get that experience.
No, that's what they get from watching the show Ink Master.
Yep.
No, that's where they get their illusion of knowledge. Oh no, that line work didn't look too crispy to me. Crispy? Really, man? Crispy? Is that what we're going with? Like what, a potato chip? Come on.
Got some hard feelings there, huh?
Yeah, still. Can you see? Yeah. Where can we find you guys then? You're almost franchised. You're around both Denver and New York, or is it just Denver?
So we're growing right now. So Denver's going to be the first one for this new venture, Inkless. And after that, we'll grow. We're gonna be in some other states. We're gonna move from there. But yeah, we're getting the first one going in Denver. Jeff had a chain in New York called Clean Slate that has had a great reputation. They sold that business, and so his wife and him started that. And so now we're going to start something a little bit different and go a little bit more national if we can. But yeah, we're out of Denver right now. New York will be coming soon. I have my school, International Laser Academy, where I do private training and continuing education courses. And we're going to be having a new online thing we're going to be onboarding soon. That's going to have things for people that are continue education that go on there and relearn, and have just a community of people kind of sharing information on what they're learning as well. So that's kind of where you can find us. I'm at inklesstattooremoval.com and ilaseracademy.com for the school.
And have you guys started a podcast yet? 100% you should.
Time,
even
man.
if it's just for
We talked
Inkless. What
about
a
it.
great name. The I listen to Smartless occasionally.
No.
Nice.
Podcast called Smartless with I can't even think of their names. The voice of Batman from Lego Batman. Something Arnett, right? I think Will Arnett.
Will Arnett. Yeah.
Jason
yeah.
Bateman. Somebody else from another thing. Anyways, I am. Kenny's telling me. She's giving me the wrap up. She knows when I'm talking about my own shit. She's like, come on. What conventions are you coming to? And like I mentioned this, that you guys offer extremely good deals to tattoo artists. So any tattoo artist listening, look for Inkless to be at a convention. Am I wrong?
No.
Don't make me edit
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Go ahead, Jeff. Take it away.
Yeah, no, for the whole time I've been in this industry, I've never charged tattoo artists. And
that's a good price.
Yeah, and they usually question that at first. They're like, "What's the catch?" And I say, "Well, I get a lot of business from referrals from tattoo artists, especially pre-Cover Up Lightning. But if I approach an artist and I'm like, I want you to send me your customers, they're going to be like, who the hell are you?" So I always feel like it's on me to prove myself to the artist first. Most artists have some crap from when they were first starting out, so they have stuff they want to remove. So I say, look, come to the shop. We'll do some treatments. You'll see that we have a nice place. You'll see that we have the best laser out. And most importantly, you'll see that we know how to lighten your tattoo without damaging your skin. And once I do a couple sessions on them, their confidence in me goes up. And anytime a client says to them, what do you think about laser? They say, oh, go see my friend Jeff. He's great. So
people don't get addicted to lasers, do they?
I've had a couple, not as many. It's not as many as get addicted to tattoo, but
tattooing.
I've had a couple of people that they'll spend, a year and a half getting something lightened up. And then
that's what I thought when you told me you could do this for free for me at the show. I was like, this guy's just trying to get me hooked. It's just like the cocaine guys. I don't do the cocaine. I don't do the lasers. Okay. I know what you got planned for me. First one's free, Kyle.
So is the 10th one. Look, the tattoo industry has been very good to both Lorenzo and myself. I had 7 shops in New York, and 4 of them were inside of tattoo shops. So I've always worked very closely with artists in the tattoo community, and I've made a lot of very close friends, and it's been good for their business. It's been good for my business, and it's just it's a thank you. It's
symbiotic.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for what you offer. What conventions do you have before I let you go coming up?
I'll be in New York at the New York Tattoo Convention. That's the last weekend in September at Pier 36 in Manhattan. There'll be some amazing artists there. We're not going to have Inkless laser set up there, but I'll be there certainly. If anybody has anything they want me to take a look at or explain the process, they can either see me there or they can reach out to me. My Instagram is just J Garnett. Or we have the Inkless tattoo removal one.
We also have the Colorado Tattoo Convention and Expo September 22nd, 24th. We'll probably be around there. Not sure if we'll set up booth or partner in a booth with some artists, but we'll definitely be doing something fun there.
I believe they just put one on the calendar for Colorado Springs too. So maybe I didn't know if you'd seen that one. Would you guys travel that far, or is that not? It's kind of outside of Denver. Would you get overflow from that?
No, we can.
We definitely would probably get overflow from that. I haven't heard of it happening, but I'll definitely Google it in a little bit here. But
I just saw it on there yesterday because we went to Denver. I was impressed. It's a nice city, but I'd been to Colorado Springs before, and I just saw more trees. Anytime I go a place with so few trees, it's kind of feels funky. And so Colorado Springs was more like my spot. Mm-hmm.
I think with our like pricing structure, what we're trying to do with the company is make it with the best equipment possible that compete with the big boys. And then we're also doing flat fee pricing. So I can imagine, in my experience, I've had people travel from other states, to come to us just because of what we do and the abilities we have. But now I think from someone, if we advertise to people in Colorado Springs that are pricing $299 and you're getting equipment that people are paying $500-600 for treatments with, I think that's going to be enticing enough, and it's good for us to advertise down there as well.
Awesome. So I might see you two places.
Yep.
Look forward to
Definitely.
it. Hey, take care, guys. Thanks a lot for being a part of this and educating me on it. And actually, again, for making me feel more safe about blue ink. I may actually use it again.
Yeah. I don't think you have anything to worry about there, man. And let us know if you want to come by the shop. I definitely want to laser you, man. I want to see that first tattoo.
You want to see the eye rule come out?
I gotta see it, man. Gotta see it.
I'm with it. Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Have a
Take
good
care,
one.
Kyle.
See you later.